Although you do need consent to beat the shit out of each other, so that kind of relates.
That's the waiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's every fighter knows that going into it. It's like, I love it when a man beats the shit out of me. I'm going to sign a waiver admitting that.
Yeah, it's just, in case you die.
So they can put it on your tombstone. Here lies Tommy. He loved to get the shit kicked out of him by dudes.
Well, he only lost one fight the entire movie.
Well, yeah, only because the script told him to.
Well, that and he stayed up all night gambling before he had 4 different fights.
Yeah, he had a major meltdown with his dad.
Slots. My father.
Quarters are expensive.
Yeah, they cost the whole 25 cents. It's crazy.
Although I was in Atlantic City at a casino, and they did still have the coin-operated machines.
Wait, is that not like a normal thing?
Well,
I always thought that's how they work.
No, now you get printed vouchers, and you just slide the voucher in, and then when you're done gambling, so as long as it doesn't look like money, people will continue to play because it's a white piece of paper with a barcode on it.
Oh,
that says gaming voucher. There's no money reference to it.
Well, that's dumb.
Well, it's kind of
stupid. I like when the quarters fall out of the thing. That's like half the fucking fun.
Yeah, but it's also a pain in the ass to have like $4 million in quarters every day.
There's also a coin shortage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably because he won all the quarters in this movie.
That's $5 million in quarters delivered to the winner. It's just like a dump truck backs up and delivers $5 million in quarter.
Like the deluxe U-Haul.
It's like a refrigerated truck for some reason. Like, not only that, but your money's very cold.
He's filling up his swimming pool, and then he realizes, if I jump into this, it's just like jumping onto a cement floor.
What was the...
Scrooge McDuck.
Was that where he jumped in? And,
yeah. Oh, that's a Family Guy skit.
Where he, like, they take the physics realistically.
Yeah,
and it just gets,
oh my God!
It's just basically like jumping onto cement.
He's like, this didn't take on the properties of water at all.
No. It's like gold coins do not flow like water.
They do not.
No, dude. Oh, I wish it worked like that. They really lied to us as kids.
I feel betrayed.
Okay,
yeah, seriously.
Personally.
If that's the biggest lie you were told as a child, yeesh.
No, it's that
do you still have a lot to learn?
Oh my God.
She lied to me.
The biggest lie I was told was I could be myself.
They told me I could be anything.
They lied.
I became a podcaster.
They just said if I graduated college, I'd have like a job or something. It's crazy.
They said if you apply yourself, people will like you. I have 2 friends.
They said be yourself and you'll be successful. And I don't even like the 3 friends I have. Like someone lied somewhere, and it wasn't my high school physics teacher. He applied logic and reasoning to the world.
He also let me swing a bat into a stable 2x4. It was a lot of fun.
Well, actually, those were the fun things in school.
That's why I liked
the applied
science.
Sciences was fun because it's like you can melt CDs with concave mirrors, and then we lit stuff on fire using the sun.
I did online high school, so I dissected a frog virtually.
So you played virtual operation, and it counted as credits.
Did they send you like a copy of like amputation simulator?
Yeah. You like download this program and then you just like
Did you have to wear virtual gloves?
I don't think so.
For the virtual frog guts?
I did I did one where we had to I think it was a science fair project where I dissected a beef heart.
Beef heart?
A beef heart, which is about the size of your head.
Say beef heart 10 times fast.
Beef heart, beef heart, beef heart, beef heart.
Shit.
It worked exactly as you thought it would. Oh, you know what I just realized? All right, so this movie's PG-13, right? But they did get the 1 F-bomb in. You're allowed 1 F-bomb, and it still keeps it PG-13.
Where was the...
It's in the casino scene where he's fighting with his dad. And he's
he's
like,
just
get the fuck out of here.
Okay, yeah.
Of course they gave it to Tom Hardy. Like, he's got to say it.
Well, if you're
It's in
gonna
his contract. He has to say fuck at least once.
if you're gonna get your money's worth, it should be in a scene like that.
Well, yeah, it makes it more dramatic.
Actually, you're right there. This actually was very mild.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
And
I mean, surprising given like
No blood.
half of the subject matter.
no
Mhm.
blood.
Yeah, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you would
His
think-
face was, both of their faces were cut open for about 40 minutes in the film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there was just bruising and the cut itself.
Well, yeah. Well, Frank Grillo kept like putting like the meat marker on his face, like
The
he's
meat
like trying to
marker.
like brand his cheek. What was that?
It's a compress to get the swelling down.
Oh, so is that
So
like
he
super
gets a
cold?
meat
Fucking
marker?
see.
I thought he was like branding him.
No.
I thought it was like super hot. He's like
So-
getting the pressure
What?
out.
So a lot of times above the eyebrow swells
Right.
and it pushes the eyelid down, reducing vision. Well, now I can't see overhand lefts from that side.
Well, you could ask the guy to not throw that
No, there was
out of common courtesy.
well the one brother was trying to communicate with the other. Tommy, no, Tommy, what are you doing?
He couldn't hear very well on account of the
all
head
the
swelling.
all the steroids in his ears.
on account of the massive concussions he is now
The
suffering.
cauliflower ears that are being formed as we speak.
Yeah, all right. That's the one bone pick I'm going to have with this movie. None of the main characters had cauliflower ears. And the one guy was a professional fighter for years before he became a teacher. So where the hell are these gross ears?
I need the poofy ears, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fight Night. In this corner, with a certain number of podcasts recorded, we have every film in the book.
A certain number.
Wait, what's our intro song? Oh, yeah.
No,
The song already
let's
played,
not
Steve.
let's not vocalize
The song is already
the thing
played.
that doesn't need to be vocalized.
Well, we need walkout music. We got to get hyped for this fight.
Well, we can't use Beethoven
Ah, damn it.
because
Yeah, he's copyrighted.
dead people somehow their music is still owned by an entity. It's kind of weird.
Welcome, everybody, to every film in the book. My name is Danielle.
I'm Steve.
And welcome to Fight Night.
Oh my god. But yeah, so welcome everybody. This week we did Warrior.
Which is surprisingly not a movie about guys like fighting with knives and swords.
Yeah, I
and-
thought it like based on the
stuff.
name you would think it would be like a feudal Japan.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there's 3 minutes of military footage
Oh, yeah. So
well, yeah, I'd say they're warriors.
compared to like 139 minutes of film. So 136 minutes is regular different combat, non-military combat,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
will.
Mm.
Mutual combat
I'd say like 90% of this movie is combat.
in a weirdly off-brand thing described as a winner takes all mixed martial arts tournament
Yeah, a
That-
Grand Prix.
that they say the Tap Out brand several times, but the tournament was named something else, so maybe they weren't as big as of a sponsor as I thought for the film, which was kind of weird.
it's like
li-
the Spartan.
yeah, Sparta or
Sparta.
Yeah,
Sparta.
This is Sparta.
So,
Where's Gerard Butler? Come on, bring him in on this.
he's in the stands somewhere. You can find him. Actually, if you find him, let us know, because we did not look.
Yeah, no, we did not hire him, so if he's on set, please somebody get him off.
Right? he would have ballooned the budget way past production value.
But yeah, Tap Out I've actually heard of as a company. Now, do they actually sponsor like MMA fights, or are they just like a made up
Since this came out in 2011,
right?
I'm not sure about the timeline of when the UFC became the UFC or when Dana White bought it and put it to prime time, but Tap Out was and still is a prominent brand in the mixed martial arts clothing and equipment.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you. I imagine they still sponsor fighters. Like, it would be on some shorts, I would imagine.
Right.
The logo and whatnot. But none of the canvases I've seen for, the UFC specifically has Tap Out as they're not the same company.
So clearly Michael is our fighter knowledge
he's our
guy.
In-house
coordinator.
punchy expert.
Yes, he knows a thing or two about the wrestling.
The wrestling. That's good. I like that. The old school term. They're getting together. They're going to have a good old fashioned wrestling bout.
Let's just say Michael's donned spandex before.
Hey, it would not be the first time.
Ooh, ladies.
But
spandex.
Spandex daddy.
Don't be talking to women on my behalf.
Spandex daddy.
Spandex daddy. So, welcome to Every Film of the Book. There's Danielle, Steve, and Spandex Daddy, which is not my real name, so I'll take it.
Right into the show. Tell us why you love Spandex Daddy.
Wow. It's tight fitting. It reduces swelling. It really shows my curves.
Plus
God.
his bulges.
All right.
And by curves, I mean my pencil-like figure.
So this movie is about two brothers
Who are just regular brothers.
who get into a battle of martial arts, and the first 40 minutes of the movie really goes into
Baggage.
their backstory, their baggage.
Oh, yeah.
Their
A lot of
family life.
baggage.
You gotta have something to make you feel something for these characters.
Yeah, you can't end a movie with a brother fight without setting up some dirty laundry.
And they go well out of their way to, really explain the level of estrangedness between the whole family.
Yeah.
Every relationship you see in the film is either taught already, about to break, or broken.
Yep.
And somehow brings it all together and then doesn't explain any of it.
Yeah, well, you can't get final resolutions.
Should we start with the bones to pick and then get into the story, since it's a nice story? Because I know Steve had a serious bone to pick.
What's your bones,
I have a couple bones to pick.
Yeah. Okay, well, all right. My main thing is, all right, we got these two main characters. One of them is an ex-fighter who turned teacher. One of them is an ex-Marine who turned fighter, but who wrestled in high school.
They both did, I believe.
Yeah, so where the fuck are the cauliflower ears?
That's your
I want to
biggest bone
see
thing.
mold growing out of these things. I want one right hook to catch Tom Hardy and fucking pop this thing like a whoopee cushion filled with pudding. Let's go. Come on.
That's your biggest bone to pick?
Yeah. No, I love this movie.
right.
I have no gripes with it.
That's actually not too bad.
Can I say my bone? Because
yeah,
mine's
we'll do
also
Danielle's
quick.
first before I start.
Because I think I
screaming.
know what Michael's going to talk about.
Mine's gonna be.
It's going to be the technical fighting stuff.
Yeah. Anyway.
But my biggest bone was the backstories and how they took so much time to go into them. And then we had no conclusion as to how anything resolved at all. And you just had to assume what happened after the tournament.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of left up to your
Yeah, but that's bullshit. I want to see something a
yeah,
a
that's fair,
little
that's fair.
something.
I definitely
I've
agree
made
with that.
complaint.
Yeah.
As the amount of time spent setting it up compared to the amount of time resolving.
Yeah, there was no resolution.
There's no comparison between the two because they didn't resolve anything. They just help. Well, it's two brothers that are both half unconscious, and they managed to walk 11 steps, and then
and they hugged a
credits.
little, so they made up apparently.
And
they worked it out in the ring.
The hug was out of necessity because the one fella's arm didn't work.
Yeah, he was like gonna fall over if.
Listen, everybody knows you can't walk if your left arm is broken. So
throws your balance
the brother
off.
was helping.
It's something with the vagus nerve, you know.
Okay, your scapula.
So I will say one good thing.
Okay.
Before
I rip it a new
before I
asshole.
take a huge crap
Okay.
on the film.
All right.
The one good thing I liked was the fact that they got real fighters to play the other fighters.
Right.
Oh, so those were all
So all of the people you saw fighting had fighting instincts that were molded for a movie, whereas the actors have acting instincts molded into fighters.
Right.
Now, they both clearly did a good job, as it was all believable and this, that, and the other thing. Some certain processes weren't done as well as the others in regards to, like, they're clearly juicing and no one had to pee in a cup for USADA. But so my biggest pet peeve with fight movies is the amount of 100% power punches the whole time. If you throw 87 haymakers in 5 minutes, the second round will not look like the first round.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, if your face is cut open, you bleed. That's one thing. I did not realize this was PG-13. So that's okay. That's fine. That's not a bone to pick. That's a reality of keeping it lower to be able to get more teens and young people to watch the film. I understand that.
Listen,
Put butts in seats.
You got Joel Edgerton's wife in her underwear. You can trade that out for some blood.
And we
for the
We didn't even
PG-13.
get like a full booty shot though. It was in the shadows.
like I said, they were about to lose their house. She couldn't afford pants. So we even had an explanation for that. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. The omoplata done by the legs, where his shoulder pops out, you are going to not be able to continue. That's a large ball and socket joint that's coming out. The doctor would have called stoppage.
But he wanted to keep going because he's a warrior.
Well,
He's
then
the
his trainer,
warrior.
if his trainer is any good, would have thrown in the towel. Because,
But his trainer wasn't there. His dad didn't show up until the end.
well, then someone who's writing checks to these fighters would have thrown in the
Somebody
towel.
would have made the call.
because it would be cheaper to pay him than to pay for his medical bills. And it would be a purely business decision, but someone would have tossed in a white towel.
Yeah.
The other thing was, if you are full on suplexed, these mats for fighting are not squishy. They do damage. Back of your head to the mat as many times as both guys went from standing to the back of their head.
Yeah, there were a lot of those.
He's dead.
He's dead?
He's 100% dead.
Oh my God.
It's implied that he was in a coma. The teacher, I'm talking about the teacher here.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
right.
implied throughout the film that he had fought in the past and had a huge medical oopsie, and that's why he
Right.
stopped fighting and became a teacher.
Right.
Then they needed money and he had to go back to fighting, right? I get that, but the brain damage does not fix itself. So the first time he got put shoulder level and slammed on the back of the head, he's lights out. So, and this is another technical thing that nobody cares about, but the more you
So
get
let me
knocked,
elaborate.
the more that you get knocked out, the faster your brain turns off to protect itself from more damage.
And the more times that happens, the more likely your brain's just going to stop
Just
working
stop.
one day.
It's just going to stop. So that was kind of goofy because he got put above another person's head and dropped on the back of his head in almost every fight.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Which
see,
is a
Michael,
lot
what
of
you're-
damage.
What you're not taking into account.
Is the swelling he would have had overnight into the next day of the bouts?
While that is true, but what you're not taking into account is he had a reason for his fight.
Oh, that's
He's
true.
a
That's very
warrior.
good. He must be the title of the film, right? That's crazy.
He needed to win for his house.
So who's really the warrior?
But the best part,
really the warrior.
who's really the warrior? As long as you have one in the family, you're doing
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
I guess.
Anyway.
But even though the technical aspect, everybody that's a fight fan or has been punched in the face by an adult knows that you can't throw 100% power punches for 25 minutes. You just get gassed, and you can't land on the back of your head that much. And if your ball and socket joints come out, you're probably not continuing the bout. So that's about it. Everything else was okay.
Yeah, except a few little things here and there. Michael would go, I don't know if that's
like,
possible.
Oh, yeah, Joel Edgerton fighting Kurt Angle. I don't
really?
think so.
The backwards ankle grab from underneath? Yeah, I don't think so.
That was an ankle lock behind the back with a reverse grip.
Yeah, ridiculous.
He didn't get his head stepped on somehow.
Well, he couldn't. He was holding his foot. You can't get angry.
You can't step with your foot being held.
In frame, his other leg is like completely out, so he could have just been shoving his shin into his cheeks and nose, and he could have broken his nose with his shin, and he would have been fine. But besides that kind of stuff, I think this was a good story that wasn't told the best, but even at the end, I was still getting into it and was getting excited, and that's what the story was meant to do, is bring you to this culminating point and you to get it engrossed in it. And towards the end of it, I was like, okay, well, put a hurting on him. Let's go. Come on. Well, I want to see who the warrior is.
Yeah, like you need like the drama and you need like that build up. So when that final fight hits, you're like on the edge of your seat and you want to see them fight, and you're like, all right, air out all your shit with your fists, because that's how you do it.
And I guess I have another little thing.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle does not look Russian.
Yeah, no, he really doesn't.
He doesn't. He looks corn-fed American.
Yeah, he looks like he came from Kentucky.
Corn-fed American.
Yeah, they don't grow him like that.
But I was glad to see real fighters. Brian Callen is in the film, and he's been a fight fan forever, and is someone that doesn't commentate fights, but is a known guy that has opinions, and he's a martial artist himself and things like that.
He's a guy with opinions. That's crazy.
Right? He's a guy with opinions.
He's a human with opinions.
And what was it, Steve? You said your budget Joe Rogan?
Yeah, he's like the Walmart Joe Rogan.
The Walmart Joe Rogan.
Like, he even had the same haircut as like when Joe Rogan had hair, like that fucking like widow's peak looking.
The stressed out 37-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was doing Fear Factor. He was fucking stressed out every day.
And enough about Joe Rogan, since they couldn't afford him, so we shouldn't be talking about him.
But yeah, let's get into this. So, it basically opens introducing us to Nick Nolte. Now, you don't really know who he is until a little bit later, but, he's going about his daily routine. He's coming out of church. He's driving around. And, we also see Tom Hardy at this point, and he's just waiting on some step, and he's popping his pills because, as a soldier, you need some pills. I don't know what they're for, but you need some stuff. I'm sure your body hurts.
PTSD's a bitch.
Yeah.
I think it was just to show a broken man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You can just see how the way he carries himself. I don't think Tom Hardy's neck ever was straight. I think he was always like hunched over.
From his massive growths on his traps.
Yeah.
Steroids. Steroids.
Yes.
HGH.
But yeah, so, we find out Nick Nolte is Tom Hardy's dad, and they have a pretty big, problem in their past.
Very quickly, we see that there is some significant father-son relationship issues, and it's not comfortable.
Yeah, no, it really makes you like... Because, like, Tom Hardy's character is taking shots at Nick Nolte this entire opening scene. He's like, Dad, I think I liked you better as a drunk. We could hang out more.
The second sentence is, the caddy looks real nice. Glad to see you still have your priorities in order.
Right.
Which means you clearly care about your car more than anything else.
Yeah, and he even makes a comment sometimes. He's like, oh, well, you got anybody in your life? And he's like, nah, no women for me, Tommy. He's like, yeah, it's hard to find a woman who can take a punch nowadays.
And it was kind of like a little...
I definitely chuckled because I was like, oof. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That sets the tone.
But yeah, it's that first point where you realize he was probably a pretty bad dad who beat the shit out of his kids and wife.
Right. And like we find out that Nick Nolte is like a recovering alcoholic. He's coming up on his 1,000 days sober. And, Tommy's keeps trying to like force alcohol onto him. And he's, like, oh, well, my dad used to love drinking. So like this is the one thing I can relate to him. Like, come on. Like, why aren't you participating?
Well, when he denies the drink the first time, what he says is, well, did you switch brands?
Yeah.
Because in his head, there's no way that he quit drinking because that's all he ever knew.
Yeah, he's like,
Right.
that stuff's not for me. And he's,
Well,
what,
I
did you
mean,
switch brands?
it's hard to switch brands. He's a Jameson man.
And
he's got good tastes.
One thing I liked between the two of them was they did give the space between the time seeing each other.
Right.
When he refers to it at, I've never seen you sober, and he goes, well, I'm 1,000 days sober.
Oh my God, that's a great Nick Nolte.
I'm 1,000 days sober, and you do the math, and you're like, okay, that's almost 3 years. So he at least hasn't seen him then, and it's not till a little later on that we realize they left as teenagers,
Right.
not as adults. The older brother, what was his name, Brendan or something?
Brendan. Yeah.
Brendan left when he was 16, which makes Tommy probably like
a couple years younger.
13,
probably.
14, something like that would be a reasonable assumption.
Right.
So they were still, well, the older brother could have had a driver's license, but he still couldn't vote yet. And
he's kissed a girl. He's got hair on his nugs.
I guess. I don't think that's how it is. But they clearly left because of Dad.
Right.
Well, clearly.
It was
Very clearly.
They absolutely jammed it down your throat in the first 11 minutes of the film that he was not a good dad. They left. Mom was sick. We needed you. Complete resentment from the
Right.
children.
But they don't give a lot of information at all. All they really do is set up this emotional resentment between the
Right.
characters.
I was actually going to mention that because they
Yeah.
don't really give you specifics. They just kind
They
of imply,
The
he
whole
was an
film.
abusive father. He was an alcoholic. He beat the mom. He beat the kids. He did all this stuff. But like they never really come flat out and say, oh yeah, Dad, remember when you were punching me in the face and like, Mom asked you to stop and you didn't. Great times at Christmas.
Then they continued to reinforce
Right.
that with a little more information, but they never really came out and said he was like this. And then even when everything's resolved, like right before the last fight, there's that moment between father and son where we say, oh, well, maybe the dad was broken before he had children or shortly after, but that's it as well. It's just a tidbit of information.
Right.
There was never a whole lot of information given.
Well, and also when you come from a bad past with your family, you're not really going to be talking about the specifics of it with them because you both experienced it. It was shitty, and you're going to try to avoid that at all costs
Right.
with any interaction you have with them. But yeah, it's also something that you're not going to talk about. So it's realistic in that aspect.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
for a man like you, wasn't it 24 steps?
Oh yeah.
No, just 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we go from this to Joel Edgerton's life, and he seems like he's having it, a great time. Like, it's his kid's birthday party. He's getting his face painted. He looks beautiful, by the way. He's got
Beautiful
the
princess.
nice yellow and pink cheeks.
The
as you
painting
do.
was not the best, but they were having a great time as a family.
But yeah, even in this opening scene, like, his life seems happy, but they are already kind of like setting the groundwork like that he's having some problems. Because, his wife comes up to him and she says, hey, that's a pretty big box from us. Like, what did you get her? And he's like, oh, come on, it's her birthday. And like kind of implying like the money's a little tight right now. But like,
It's called a budget because it's not supposed to budge. Like, as he needed that to be said at his daughter's birthday party.
well, I mean, all right, come on, budge it. It's literally telling you to budget.
Oh, we
Go further. Go beyond.
it's called a budget, not a nudge it,
Not a stay put it. Like, come on.
Ugh.
But yeah, so Joel Edgerton is living his family life. He's got
Brendan.
kids, and his wife is working a night job. He's working out in the garage, and he's kind of like, hey, when you get to work tonight, if any of these guys give you a problem, you let me know. I'll come down there. I got muscles. I've been working out.
I got those muscles, baby.
I be picking up these weights like they're nothing. But yeah, we find out that, he's working a second job because he's a teacher during the day, and apparently he's bouncing at bars at night. And then she has either like a bartending job or like a waitress position to just kind of keep the bills, at bay for the moment.
Yeah, and they basically explain all of this in a scene where he's meeting with his accountant, financial advisor. I don't know what this man is.
Yeah, that'd be a loan officer at a bank.
Sure, yeah. So he basically at that point says, we have 3 jobs between the 3 of us, and my kid's dying from her heart and shit.
Listen, my kid works at McDonald's 4 days a week. We can't afford rent right now.
Yeah, so he's broke and a teacher and working multiple jobs.
And if you didn't get that at this point, you need to unmute the television because
pay a little more attention.
This is all very what they want the audience to assume and feel about the characters. It's given very quickly, and they continue to do it throughout the whole film until the tournament, basically.
Right.
And until that tournament, we're just getting the crappy portion of all of their lives. Nothing fun happens except for the 12 seconds at the birthday party before they bring up financial instability.
Yes, that was the only moment of happiness in this whole movie.
And when he's teaching, he looks like he enjoys that, and he's good at it, and the students are paying attention in physics class.
Well, then maybe he should have gotten a master's degree and moved on to teaching college. Maybe he'd make a little bit more money.
If he's been doing it for 5 years, then he could take a sabbatical because he has tenure. And all these semantics are just not important because
not important in a fighting movie.
He ultimately fist fights for cash.
Yeah.
Yes.
But during all this point, during all of Brendan's life falling apart, apparently, Tommy is now, reestablishing himself as a fighter. So he ends up finding this gym that he used to train at.
Which, again, not really sure why he had to get into this tournament, because what does he have on the line? He doesn't have a dying child in a house that's going to get lost.
They did the dead comrade's promise to his wife thing, but that was very short. And again, they don't go into it in very much detail.
Yeah.
You get a scene,
I think,
where
like 2 scenes.
It's a phone call between them, and she's clearly very emotional. And he says, well, a promise is a promise. I made a promise.
What, did he promise her $5 million?
Well,
he just promised her that he would take care of the family financially, so she wouldn't have to worry, and she can just keep an eye on the kids and doesn't have to work full time.
I know, it's just more backstory that honestly I don't really care about.
Well, you're
sorry,
you're 100% correct, because we don't care about her or the kids that we see in a flash where they run out of the room during the phone call.
But yeah, so he ends up getting a membership at this gym, and he offers to fight one of the top tier fighters who just happens to be training at this gym.
It's the classic, nobody here's good enough. Well, what about the janitor? You know what I mean? The janitor at the school happens to be the smartest guy, or the guy sweeping the floor happens to be the greatest fighter. And in this case, it was just the bum off the street.
He's like, how do I sign up?
Is this
all right,
the Goodwill Hunting
literally
fight movies?
Literally 2 piece in a biscuit. He does say the Mad Dog fella is the top middleweight contender.
Yeah.
So he isn't, the contender being the guy vying for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's kind of fighting in a poo-poo gym for
in the middle of Pittsburgh.
Middleweight fights, that's a high dollar pay-per-view. You're the main event. If you're a contender, he probably would be working out privately with a team, not in a gym that has open admission with no doorman.
Yeah, I don't really fully understand how the brothers even got into this big fight to begin with, because you think you would need a whole team and a lot of money like backing you to get you into a position like that, or at least some sort of previous history
right?
in the martial arts world.
But it was a YouTube video for one of them,
right?
And the other guy, you get 4 seconds of the best guy in the gym getting a leg cramp.
Yeah.
And then the classic parking garage.
Let me make a phone call.
I can be the one. Let me be the one. What about me?
I don't really understand that.
It definitely was
convenient.
It definitely serviced. Well.
But yeah,
it was over 2-hour movie, so they could have. I digress.
I mean, all this to basically say, Tom Hardy beats the shit out of this dude, and he becomes like this overnight sensation where the owner of this gym is now showing up at like Nick Nolte's door, and he's like, "Hey, Tommy left this address. I just really need to talk to him. He kicked the shit out of this guy. He's got some medical bills. We really need to need him to help us pay."
But he signed a waiver, so...
Yeah, he signed a waiver, though, so he's totally off the hook. Yeah. But he's basically trying to sign Tommy as, like, a fighter because he's like, this big tournament's coming up. Like, I want him to fight for me, like, because he could definitely win.
And instead of... Well, the owner of the gym wants notoriety for the gym, so if he beat the crap out of that guy, well, you should probably put that guy in. Yeah. He has the best chance to make the gym bigger. But he definitely, well, I guess it's the scene with his father where he says it's the devil you know is always better than the devil you don't know.
Oh yeah.
So that's how they get hooked up to train.
Yeah,
and even that's kind of a weird scene of like, do what I say immediately, but I still okay. I'll do what you say. We'll use the old regimen, but I still hate you.
Yeah, also, I don't understand why he needed his dad, because you don't get any of those moments really, besides, I guess, that little montage that they give you. But you don't get a lot of moments where you see his dad being a good trainer in any way. So, yeah, it was just kind of weird, too. Obviously, they had to do it for... the emotional backstory side of it, but
and the way Tommy's character kind of like goes about his life is, he does what he's used to, and he's not really about to like break away from that. He kind of does his own thing.
Oh, so it's I've done this before. He's the only one I know who.
He's like, he's trained me before. I know he knows what he's doing. Like, I don't trust some random guy I just met to get me into fighting shape.
I guess that's true.
The devil you know, not the devil you don't know. And then he makes reference to, again, we're going to use the old diet and the old regimen. And then, do we want to talk about the interesting directorial montage?
Oh, yes, we have to talk about the montage.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Gonna have a montage.
So just a little backstory before we get into the shitty montage. But
hold on, sorry, I'm sick and dying. Sorry for the coughing and possible sneezing. I'm sick today.
But yeah, just to get a little backstory from, to get us up to that point. So like, while Tommy's training with his dad, Brendan is fighting in strip club parking lots in like these, like, he calls them smoker fights. So it's like these, like, as he says, dudes who watch too much UFC all sign up and they beat the shit out of each other for like a prize money.
They're unsanctioned fights that the Gaming Commission does not have control over, which is technically illegal, and that's why he got suspended from his technically government job as a teacher.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, he gets into this fight. He shows up to school with a black eye. They suspend him without pay. So he talks to his wife and is like, listen, they're going to take the house if we don't find some way of making money. So I'm going to keep working these smoker fights. I'm going to go and like, we'll keep up appearances for the girls. Like, I'll still be leaving for work every day, but instead of teaching, I'm now
just
training.
Going to the gym. Yeah.
So he meets his friend, Frank, who's also played by Frank Grillo. So it just seems like he's talking to Frank Grillo every time. He's like, yo, Frank, come on, put me in. It's like, I hate when they name characters after the actual actors. It's so stupid.
Does it take you out of the movie a little?
Yeah, a little bit. Like they call Tom Hardy Tommy, and I'm just like, oh, don't call him fucking Tommy.
They wrote the movie. They can do what they want.
I know.
That's true.
But yeah, so he gets Frank Grillo to train him, and they then start this whole fucking montage of terribleness. Like this, I mean, I should have brought this up during my nitpick, but this was the other nitpick I actually had with this movie. Was this fucking waste of space montage?
I didn't bring it up because I thought we all were gonna trash it in unison.
Oh yeah.
Like this looks like some shitty fucking like PowerPoint presentation when PowerPoint first came out, and people were like, "Look, you can make animations from the slides. It's real cool."
Yeah, they take little clips of training and war flashbacks and a lot of different scenes where they just take, I don't know, maybe 1/9 of the screen up with an actual scene, and then they have another one that comes up in the other corner, and then they like flip around and they're changing the angles and shit, but it's all very
scattered. It's very scattered, and there's a lot of blank space in between the I don't even know what you call it. It's
between people working out really hard.
It's a classic.
It's like one of those scenes where
get
they
in shape montage.
Yeah, or like when they show news clips and they like put it all over the screen, different news clips, and they're all talking about the same thing. It's like one of those moments.
But whereas the news clips are usually a reporter on a desk, so they all kind of match the same thing. It was someone running on a street, someone hitting a tire with a sledgehammer, a different person running, a different person working out in a different way,
walking down the street.
Now there's a bunch of Marines,
American flags,
taking a walk. America, like
fireworks,
a ton of patriotism, cardio, and moving heavy objects.
Sweaty men.
Like the announcers giving their take on what's going to happen with this fight.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is the greatest like multi-team tournament, like $5 million on the line.
My biggest nitpick too is that they changed the size of each frame, so some of them are like a 4x3 landscape, and then some of them are like the 9x16 size, and I'm like, wait a minute, why are they different sizes?
Some of them are perfect squares and symmetrical that would line up with the other videos, and then some were like catty corner, but also 3 inches off.
It felt like they filmed it with different frame sizes or whatever you would call it, and then different ratios, and they didn't communicate that, and then they just slapped it all together.
Like, just for perspective, we have a 55-inch TV. About 25% of it was filled with images. The rest of it was blank space.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
This was a terrible fucking montage.
It was different. It could have been better.
I'd rather just have the clips back to back, honestly.
Yeah. Full screen, back to back, and then go between the different. Well, I guess it was to show the difference in training between the Beethoven and the hitting things with the sledgehammer and the unique training style and the mitt work. And
even if they were trying to do something like that where they show the two sides of something, why then did they mix it up and they didn't have like the left side of the screen is all for Tommy and the right side of the screen is all for Brandon or whatever his name is. They didn't split it in that way to show the differences. It was kind of random.
Unless the dad was in the shot or the trainer was in the shot, it was kind of hard to tell which was which doing the training. So it was just kind of weird. It was just weird. Yeah. It was weird.
I don't know.
Took me out of the movie for a moment.
All of this just sets up that both of these brothers now
are in shape.
Yeah, they're now in shape. They got super chiseled abs, and they're ready to go to Sparta.
But this is Sparta! I have no complaint with the shape any of the fighters were in. they all were in fantastic shape for this film.
Yeah, they had a very fighter figure for sure. They weren't
Right.
like bulking up like Captain America.
Yeah, no. Like they looked like lean but muscular. Like they were truly like in fighting shape.
Whether or not they would have made weight at middleweight is not what we're talking about.
That's not up for debate.
Okay?
Kurt Angle was definitely looking about 280.
Kurt Angle is not a small human being. Tom Hardy is not the tallest, and I can see why they didn't have Kurt Angle fight.
But I think they put them at like the same height.
Yeah, like they tried their best.
Brendan was shorter than Kurt Angle in the stare down at the start, and I was just very thankful that they paid some respect to Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
To his size.
in him not being shown as a small person.
They like
Kurt
pull him
Angle
to the
is
side.
still to this day as like, I'm pretty sure he's late 50s, early 60s, and he's still way bigger than I am.
They just like pull him to the side, like, listen, Kurt, come here. I want to talk to you. Look, you're gonna lose to this guy who's about like 6 inches shorter than you, about 100 pounds lighter. But don't worry, you're still gonna look bigger than him in the final cut.
And you're still going to get paid a lot for the least amount of screen time,
Yeah.
so don't worry about it.
But yeah, so Brendan actually gets into Sparta because of a technicality, like Michael mentioned earlier. The one
Leg cramp,
Yeah, the one guy get a really severe leg cramp.
4
and
seconds. Leg cramp.
Can't do it. You see Frank Grillo throw his phone. He's super pissed. So
He did chuck his phone.
Yeah, he chucked it.
He chucked his
that was a
flip phone.
Razor phone.
I don't think it
could
was
take
even.
a little bit
I
of a
don't
beating.
even think it was that nice of a phone. I think it was one of those like egg-shaped gray
Yeah.
knockoffs. This was before cell phones really got into product placement.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the brands were important.
But some product placement that was hilarious to me was there was a big Starbucks sign.
Oh yeah. There's
on
gotta
the,
be.
on the pan out from Philly
Yeah.
and tap out clearly. Do they don't ever show the. They just mentioned that they're in Atlantic City and they're clearly in a casino that has an auditorium for boxing, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think they mention
I think it was the MGM.
so that's
Yeah.
pretty generic.
Yeah,
and
like your typical fight arena.
they probably, well, actually, that's the only place these things are filmed in.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they basically rent it out
even
for the
the
publicity
even the
at this
parking
point.
lot of the strip club was the MGM.
Yes. It's like just the other side.
Excuse me, gentlemen's club.
But yeah, so Brendan gets the call from Frank and is just like, "Hey babe, I got into Sparta. I'm going. We're not going to talk about it. I love you. I love the kids. I might die. I'm going to Sparta."
and she's like, the fuck you are.
She gets real mad at him trying to make money for his family.
Yeah.
Well, she's like, they're showing this Russian dude because this is a Rocky metaphor, and he's got to fight his fucking Russian.
And even in 2011, it was still the hammer and sickle Soviet Union thing, which
Yeah.
they changed way before that.
Oh yeah,
The Rocky movies were in, the 80s?
yeah, 80s and like very beginning of the 90s.
It was more realistic that the hammer and sickle was shown in the
Right.
Rocky films than in 2011.
Yeah, yeah.
But to portray an evil thing that he must overcome, I guess the Soviet...
well, yeah, he's the foreigner. Like you gotta beat him
that's
up.
true. That's true. If there's
Like,
anyone
come
not
on.
from America in a fight film, they have
they
to
gotta
die.
It's just how it works.
And they're the best in the world until
Until they get to America.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's how all sports work.
They never
Yup.
faced our scrappy spirits.
We're young, scrappy, and hungry.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Actually,
not
these-
throwing away my
These
shot.
fighters were old and washed up.
But yeah, so we're now at Sparta, and we're starting to get some more of Tommy's backstory because he's been pretty mute up until this point, not really giving any details. But he's we find out that he's basically a war hero, but like he ends up ripping the like tailgate off of a tank and saving a couple soldiers, and this ends up like hitting major news, and now everybody's here like rooting for Tommy because he's like this underdog. He's got like no sponsors. He's got no walkout music. He's like the fucking like black sheep of the MMA community.
Yes, but they also later on kind of explain how he fled from his position and is a criminal to the military for leaving his position and how they're going to arrest him after this tournament. Meanwhile, they could have arrested him before the tournament.
But we're
Why
filming a
didn't
movie.
they?
Yeah.
I don't understand what allowed them to not just arrest him right away.
It was the spirit of sportsmanship. He has to finish what he started.
I think
but legally,
Legally,
wouldn't
no.
just
They would
take him
fucking
in?
slap cups on him and he'd be walking out of there
Right?
on
They
camera.
would have
Before it
dragged
even
him out after they beat him up again.
Like,
Yeah.
once you are found after you flee a position in the military, isn't that instant?
That's instant jail time, yeah.
Right?
You're going AWOL. Like, you're done.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a military prison,
Yeah.
which they're allowed
Yeah.
to. You sign a lot of paperwork. They're allowed to experiment on you at that point.
Yeah.
You're getting fucked in many ways,
But yeah,
not
this is
just the literal sense.
but this is like the start of our like final hour of this movie. It's nothing but like fight montages from here on out. But you know, Tommy gets in the ring for his first fight, knocks the dude out in one punch because he's a freaking tank.
He's a one-punch man.
Yeah, but like I like the differences in fighting. Like Tommy is like, I want to end this as quickly as possible, and Brendan is more like, I just need to survive and hopefully I win.
It's the
You know, at the end.
older brother with some patience versus younger brother who's angry at the whole planet.
Right.
And we do see him not accept anything until the end after he's got his head bashed in by his brother.
Right.
So he doesn't forgive the dad. He doesn't forgive the brother. There's all these things that explain his anger, and he just comes out of it, you know, like a bull coming out of the gates.
Yeah.
And that's why one of my biggest nitpick was throwing haymakers for 5 minutes straight. The second round will not be a continuation of haymakers.
Well, what have we learned from the tortoise and the hare children's story? Slow and steady
Well,
wins the race.
Brendan was a teacher, so
Yeah. A physics teacher.
they did
He would
do.
know.
Steve's right. They did do a good job at showing the difference in styles and maturity levels and use of brain
Yeah.
in the fighting.
Like there was no thinking on Tommy's end. It was like,
Maul.
I'm going to knock this person out as quickly as possible. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I just want my money and I want to leave.
Speaking of that, the first fight, guy drops his hands, left hook, fight's over,
Gangster shit.
shoves the cage door open,
He
and
fucking
storms out.
leaves.
He's out.
I'm done here.
It's
Gangster
like, try and stop me. Did you just see what I did to that guy in there?
and the announcer's like, and he's leaving the ring. This is insanity. And meanwhile, he's just like, nah, fuck it, I'm out.
Well, he wasn't looking for fame. He was looking
Yeah,
for
He didn't
blood.
even look back. He was just walking right out that door.
Well, they tell you never look back.
Yeah, that's true.
After you kiss a guy with your fist, never look back.
Wow, yeesh, that's a heavy kiss. That was a big old left hand put the first guy down.
He's just like, all right, I'm in my zone. Here comes the smooch. Right
Yeah,
hook.
he gets him like with 2 punches, I think. The first
Yeah,
one.
just fucking knocks him out.
Yep, a little tap, bang, see you later.
Yeah.
One thing I did like with, well, actually, I liked it and I didn't. We got way more footage of Brendan's fights,
Right.
making his obstacles he's overcoming seem bigger,
Mhm.
and the fights did go longer, and he got in trouble in all of his fights. He never dominated, so the difference in that was the fights took longer. He was always at a disadvantage and would somehow make it out.
Right.
And he does say verbally underdog 2 or 3 times in the
Yeah.
film in regards to his father not training him. You never liked the underdog. And then even his trainer said, well, you didn't listen to me back then. So, you know, there's a whole repeatability with both people. They're being the same, but also showing the differences between them, which was kind of neat. But some of those positions you don't get out of,
Yeah.
but it's a movie, so we'll let it slide.
It does set it up to be a little bit predictable in that Brendan's gonna probably win because, yeah, I mean, they could have easily given it to Tommy because the whole time he's dominating, but yeah, it makes it just a tad predictable in who's gonna ultimately win.
And to go off that a little bit, after the first day of fighting, we see Tommy and his father have an altercation. And in the same sense, Brendan has an altercation, but it's a positive with his wife coming to the next day's fights. Right? So we see something positive happen for him and something negative happen for Tommy, but they both kind of win in the end because...
I don't think Tommy wins in the end, honestly. He's going to jail. His life is kind of fucked. I know we're not there yet, but...
I mean, we might as well just talk about it because like the rest of the movie is just them fighting.
Right. So after this, you just get the flip-flop of the next... or the first 3 rounds of the fight with Tommy dominating and Brendan
skating by.
He gets everybody with that arm lock thing.
Yeah.
In every fight, that's how he wins.
Yeah, like he has to go for the submissions where Tommy has to go for the knockouts. Like,
right.
Because Tommy's not trying to waste his time.
Even against Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm not taking that fight.
No, never.
His trainer does say to him, if you don't knock him out, you lose this fight.
Right.
And he ends up winning by submission.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's still not listening to his trainer.
Yeah.
And Tommy's still pissed off, but they're both winning.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like, do we need either trainer?
Yeah.
Or were we just trying to pad the runtime here?
And obviously it's one of those things that, yeah, both the brothers are going to win. Yeah, they're going to go head to head.
Yeah,
do we really need to do this?
Why even bring up the fact that they're brothers if you're not going to have them punch each other at the end?
Right.
It would have been, because they didn't explain anything afterwards, they could have been strangers and the movie would have been just as good.
Yeah.
It could have been
true.
the teacher needs the money and the broken man needs something to live for again, type thing, which is I don't know if I'm sold on that.
Even
but
keep the he wants to help his buddy's war widow, make sure
That
her
could have been
family
it.
is set. If they keep that, but just take out the aspect that they're brothers, there's still drama amongst both stories.
Or they could have been long lost brothers and they didn't realize they were brothers until the very end.
well, at that point,
honestly, that would have been probably like a more shocking reveal, but it would have been like, oh, come on,
He's
they're
like,
brothers.
Wait, Tommy? Wait, you're my brother?
the only thing they would have had to have changed was they would just move the tournament 40 minutes earlier in the film and then use that other space to explain stuff, which they should have done anyways with the stories they picked. But
that conflict scene wouldn't have happened until the night before they fought or something.
Yeah,
right.
Nolte comes out. Tommy, I had an estranged lover back in Korea. You have a brother. He's white, but he's your brother.
So it all comes down to the big fight, which I thought there would also be more of a moment from either of the brothers of like, oh shit, I have to fight my brother.
Nope.
But neither of them had that moment.
No, not at
they
all.
were just blasting through these fights.
Well, the first 2 rounds were
Just
what you said.
beating the crap
they were
out of each
blasting
other.
through
Yeah.
those rounds. But by that 3rd round, Brendan is definitely trying to reason with Tommy. He's like, dude, come on. I just snapped your shoulder. We shouldn't be fighting. We can find a way around this. I get you need the money. I need the money. We can work. You don't need to keep fighting.
They totally could have done without that.
Right. But
100%. Those are professional fighters that are fighting for a $5 million purse. They are not concerned about the welfare of their opponent, whether they're brothers or not. That's not how that would have gone.
I do have to disagree a bit in that this is a movie. There is drama. So if they were 2 complete strangers, there wouldn't be any sort of feeling towards beating the shit out of this person,
No, that's fine. But the first 2 rounds, neither one of them cared. And then it seemed to, as a fight fan, the pace just stops.
Well, yeah, 'cause
in the third round,
those-
as soon as he gets him in that omoplata or whatever it's called.
Well, weren't you the one saying that you couldn't do 100% every single round and that it would slow down?
No, but
Yes.
but what I'm trying to say is like, so those first 2 rounds, like it's like, you know, I made the joke of like, oh, they're working through their emotions through the fight, but like they literally are. Those first
Yeah.
2 rounds, they are both coming at it with nothing but aggression.
Right.
And then, you know, Brendan gets the upper hand and snaps Tommy's shoulder, and that kind of puts him on the back foot. So now he's not the aggressive one anymore, and now Brendan is forced to like take on Tommy's position and be the aggressive fighter, which he
Yeah.
doesn't want to do.
Right.
But he knows he has to, or he loses his house and his family's fucked.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, the pace of the fight shifts, and like, you know, it where it starts as everybody hates each other and we're airing out like, oh, you fucking left, oh, you left me with a dying mom, like you didn't tell me my mom was dying. But then it shifts into, dude, you're still my brother, like I don't want to hurt you. Like, I know what I've done to you already, and I don't want to continue.
And that's all totally fine. But Brendan would have won that fight based on the amount of damage he did in that round where he broke his shoulder. They could have
Right.
sat down for the last 10 minutes and 2 rounds, and he still would have won the fight. So significant strikes are great, but that amount of damage it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That amount of damage would have won the fight. But I do see what you're saying. They're getting their emotions out in the first 2, and now they're looking at each other like, well, Brendan is looking at him like his brother again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I guess
Tommy gets to that point at the end when he finally like lets Brendan carry him out of the ring.
But
I'm
even when Tommy taps out, it's because Brendan's like, I love you, brother. He
It's
says
kinda-
something like
well,
that in his ear.
because
it's kind of weird.
like,
it was a
kinda
little,
weird.
yeah.
the way I looked at it is like, you know, if you had to fight your like if I had to fight my brother and like I
can
knew
see that
he
happening.
really like his fiance needed like life-saving surgery and I know I needed money as well, or like, you know, our house would explode from the mafia or something. Like it's an emotional thing, and like I know my brother would fight as hard as he could, and I know I would fight as hard as I could, and if I was winning, you know, you kind of have to be like, dude, seriously, it's okay, like let go, don't keep fighting, like it's over, I'll help you, like, but like, you know, you
you're
can't
in the
keep
cage.
going.
Murder. Murder and maim. No holds barred.
Michael, you don't have human emotions, so you wouldn't understand this, okay?
Not in mutual. It's mutual combat.
See, no.
Do more damage.
Like when Brendan tells his trainer, he's like, I popped his shoulder, and the trainer's like, yeah, now I want you to pop his
Do
other
his other-
shoulder.
that-
Michael would go out there and be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna pop his shoulder.
And then well,
Take out his other arm, then he can't punch anymore.
If
will.
you gouge his eyes, he can't see.
Break his legs and he can't walk.
that's in the rules, but no, his trainer has the right idea. Finish him.
Right.
You can see
Finisher.
You can see the resistance. You can see the stubbornness from Tommy, and then he eventually does start throwing some strikes towards
Right.
Tommy, and he's kicking him in the shoulder, and he's doing more damage, and each one of those blows is scoring points, so he is advancing his scoring position. So technically he's winning the fight. He's trying to get his brother to stop, but his brother's super stubborn.
Right.
So they go through a whole nother round of that, because he comes out
make
again
it to the 5th round.
and it's clear and evident that his arm's messed up. When he sits down, his left arm's hanging loose.
Yeah, and like
then when
he's
he
like,
comes in, it's just waist level, but a little bit behind, and he's only got his right arm up in guard.
Yeah.
And
and like you know, he's up against the cage and he's like crying into his arm, and he's just like as soon as the bell rings, like he's turning around, and like he almost like snaps back into like, all right, I gotta go punch again, even though my one arm doesn't work.
right, and well, actually, that was his left arm that got busted, and that
Yeah.
was where his power punches. He didn't have the right footwork for left-handed power punch. It's okay. His stance was right-handed, and his power punches came from the left. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But
But all in all, like I just thought this was a super emotional fight because, like, you know, I put myself there with my brother, and like, you know, if I was in that situation, like, I wouldn't want to kick the shit out of him either because I know he's fighting for something important, you know, just as much as I am. But like, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
The other thing I don't like is, even if Steve's my brother and I hate him, we're splitting that $5 million in half. Regardless of outcome, whoever, it does not matter. That's the conversation that my manager should be having with Steve's manager, and that should be all worked out ahead of time. And we can go in and beat the crap out of each other, and then afterwards realize that there was a deal done where we're splitting the purse 50-50 because 2-5 helps the comrade's wife,
right,
and her kids, and it also helps keep the house and do that. And then,
yeah, I mean, like, that's my head.
You know, his dad's
like what happened.
His dad's Tommy's trainer, so his dad's a trainer, and trainers typically get like 10-20% of the purse and whatnot. So everybody would have made money in that, but that doesn't service the emotional need of the film. So I understand.
And again, they don't explain anything, so you would hope that they split the money up. Like, you would hope that some of these things happen, but we have no idea. We just have to assume.
I wouldn't mind 1 or 2 loose ends.
Yeah.
They did have 4, 5, 6. Like, we never see his students again. We never see the family again. We never see an interaction with his wife again. We never see an interaction with the dad or the trainer. So all of the ends were loose. Yep. I don't mind a couple left up to the audience interpretation, but please don't leave all of them.
All of them. They cut right from the end of them walking out.
Well, they didn't even make it out. They
still
walked down the
inside.
stairs of the octagon, 4 or 5 steps. The dad has the single tear.
Yeah.
And then
they're
black screen
hugging
credits.
each other and
then it's
crying.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was touching.
I get that they wanted to end it at that moment, because that was
apex
where everything was building
yeah.
up. But
Agreed.
they could have had them walking and they just show a little flash of something happening, go back to them walking, a little flash of the other side, and just show any sort of
or
closure.
Even the simplest form I could think of during the credits was there was a moment in the film where Tommy is inside his dad's house for the first time, and he's constantly looking at photos. They could have done the dad hanging a full family photo up on the wall, and that would have answered. I would have been okay, but there was just nothing.
There was nothing.
There was nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't take anything away, but this is a type of movie where
most of it is drama, so close up some of the drama, please.
There didn't need to be that many loose ends for the amount. Why put that many storylines in?
Right.
If only one gets resolved, and he might just be delirious because there's so much pain from his ball and socket joint being out, and you know.
Yeah.
Well, like my thing is, and I know this is going to be shocking, but this is the one ending where I kind of liked that it just ended.
Wow, Steve
open.
liked this
Oh my
one.
goodness.
I know, but like I like the idea of you not knowing if he's going to do the right thing and like split his prize money. Like, you assume he's going to because he's trying to make amends with his brother
during the fist fight.
Yeah. But it's one of those like, I mean, you don't really need to know what happens to the dad. You already know Brendan forgave him. I don't give a shit what Tommy does to the dad. He was an asshole to him the entire movie. Like, you know the wife's going to be happy because they just saved their house. So you don't really need a conclusion to their story. And then, you know,
what about the widow lady?
So
and what about
you're giving us assumptions of what happened because they didn't show us.
But what I'm saying is, you know, you're saying like you didn't get like another scene with the wife. You don't really need that. Like, you already know she's happy. She's crying in the stands and happy that her husband won.
Right, but if I say I would have liked that, then I would have liked that. We didn't need the movie, period. But
you didn't have to watch the movie.
Hold on, what's the famous line? Well, you know, if they would have just did it different, it would have been better.
Yeah, which doesn't work because they left all of everything on a cliffhanger, which we can assume that everything was hunky dory.
Yeah, I mean, the movie was pretty predictable, so you can kind of predict where they would have continued
which
the
is
movie.
why before you opened your stupid mouth, we said we get where everything was fine, but with all of that drama, it would have been nice to have like a 30 or 40 second cooling period to that height of emotion.
Right, like,
but they do cut it off right there.
When half of the movie is this backstory drama, like, what is even the point? You could have cut half of this movie out and had a shorter runtime if you weren't concerned about their backstories.
It did get us. Well, I thought for sure I was going to hate this because I don't like fighting movies or sports movies because
I don't really either.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, they scored the goal and oh wow, let me guess, they did it with no time left on the clock. And it's like, well, of course. But I was going into this thinking I wouldn't like it, and I ended up being invested in that emotion at the end.
Right.
So that's all great, but since I got emotionally invested in it, then they just yank the rug from my feet and names start scrolling across the screen, and I'm like, no. When I'm finally invested in it, now you take it away from me. But which is fine. That's that's a typical way to end a film without giving all the answers. Yeah. This one, I feel like, well,
like they probably could have gave you more, but I don't know if I would have want to sit through like another 10 minutes to like.
We don't need 10 minutes.
That's why it's 30 or 40 seconds max of just a period.
Yeah, we literally that's all I would want.
Honestly, I was expecting some type of photo montage during the credits.
Oh God, no, I hate those.
Yeah, but it was 2011. That would have been like.
Yeah, I mean it's the era for it, and that's why I'm glad they didn't do it.
Well, yeah.
Come on,
okay.
Every fucking movie.
Or like the post-credit scenes where the credits are rolling,
are they now?
And they have the little screen on the side.
In the bottom, like they do to advertise the next episode on streaming services, and they finish the current one in a tiny little box.
No, it's like on the half of the screen where the credits aren't rolling.
Oh yeah,
and they're showing something that happened after.
If the montage scene wasn't done very well, they probably would have screwed up the post-credit scene. So maybe it's good they didn't.
Yeah, but that's Warrior.
Yeah,
a movie from 2011. I don't know who directed it. I don't really care.
Doesn't matter.
But it had Tom Hardy in it, and I liked looking at him. And I'll admit that every day of the week.
I did say these guys were in fantastic shape. Kurt Angle looked great.
Oh yeah, he was cut
and this
to
is
fucking shreds.
2011, so he's still. I don't know if he was still under contract with WWE. I'm assuming he was because he's been. I think he was in things as recent as like 2016, 17, 18. He was still in WWE productions, so he was still in good shape.
Yeah,
there was cauliflower ear on the actual people. I will say cauliflower ear makeup was not good in this era, so I think that is a positive thing they didn't do, is try to add that kind of thing, because it didn't look realistic at this time. Because the natural cauliflower ear, especially for somebody like me, where the cartilage in my left ear just from wrestling in school is thicker than the cartilage in my right ear. And it never got that bad, thankfully, because it's irreversible and it looks gross. But
I have a needle; I could just poke it.
Wow, that's the thing. It's not. It's tissue. It's not. It's not like a big zit.
Yeah.
But I think they did a lot of things well in this movie, and for me to actually be emotional. Not emotional.
Michael was crying his eyes
I was
out
bawling like a
movie.
newborn during this. But for me to actually get invested in a fight film that's not something starring Chuck Norris or Bruce Lee or like a Never Back Down franchise where it's all just about fighting, this had a really good story and fist fighting. And you normally don't get both.
Yeah, it's normally either all about the fighting or all about the story. And
this had a good mix. This definitely had a good mix. Definitely held my attention.
I mean, I love this movie, so I have nothing bad to say. So.
I'll probably never watch it
again.
again.
How about you, Danielle?
I do not enjoy fighting movies or sports movies usually at all. I've seen this once before, and it's not the movie for me. I can appreciate what they did with writing, and the fights were at least intriguing enough.
Yeah, right.
Where that part of it got me into it, but I did not care about their backstories, and yeah, the lack of resolution and everything just made it like, all right, well, what was even the point? I probably won't watch this again, but if you're into fighting movies with drama, I guess you would probably like it. But for me, it's not the movie for me, honestly.
If you have a brother you're close with, watch this. You'll get a little teary-eyed.
Did you cry, Steve?
I get teary-eyed at this movie every time.
I don't understand
It's
why
so
you think
sad.
it's sad, because in my opinion, it's...
I don't know. I like the triumphs. I like seeing the dude down on his luck winning, and it's fun for me. And I like the brother aspect of it. I like that they,
just two brothers.
Yeah, like I like that, they go out hating each other, and they, eventually grow to sort of accept each other.
No, they punch each other until they accept
well,
each
sometimes
other.
with your brother, you gotta hit each other, and that's how you get, you air your grievances.
Sometimes,
through fists.
sometimes it must be in a professional format for a purse of $5 million. That would definitely help me like someone I didn't like a little bit too.
The way I look at it is, we get that beach scene of them arguing and kind of getting their shit out, but Tommy's not saying what he needs to say, and Joel Edgerton's saying too much. Like, the fight, I think, is the perfect combination of them both getting out what they need to say and their frustrations without, like, a dialogue-heavy fucking, like, yeah, but I felt this way because... Like, they just punch each other, and then, they kind of understand both of them have come a long way. Both of them have struggled. Both of them want to achieve greatness, but only one of them can, type thing.
All right.
And just like the movie ending, we're done.
We are done.
Somebody roll the credits.
The credits.
cut
Everything's
to black.
Cut to black. Credits.
But yeah, thanks guys for listening and checking us out. We'll see you guys next week.
No, I said cut to black and roll the credits.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.